So picture this. On March 17th, a high-yield explosive detonates exactly 350 meters from a fully operational nuclear reactor core.
Which is, I mean, that is incredibly close.
Right. Just to put that into perspective, that is roughly the length of 3.5 football fields standing between just a normal Tuesday and a catastrophic radiological event.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with state-of-the-art weaponry and a functioning nuclear power plant, a margin of error of 350 meters is, well, it's virtually non-existent.
It is entirely unprecedented. I mean, for decades, the unspoken rule of modern warfare has been that you do not directly target an adversary's functioning nuclear sites.
Because of that exact zero margin of error.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But over the last few weeks, we are seeing that taboo completely shatter in real time.
Wow. Well, welcome to today's deep dive. If you've been feeling, overwhelmed by the relentless and chaotic headlines regarding this rapidly escalating global crisis between the United States, Israel, and Iran, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're providing you with an essential shortcut to understanding exactly what is happening as of today, March 26, 2026.
And we are grounding our entire analysis today in a highly detailed intelligence and geopolitical analysis brief from KULT.
Right.
It provides this stark, really sobering look at the reality on the ground. It bypasses the usual political spin to just focus on the physical and strategic facts.
And that is our exact mission for this deep dive. We are going to strictly look at the mechanics of this intelligence brief. We aren't here to take sides or to debate the politics of who fired first or to endorse any specific foreign policy.
No, not at all.
Our goal is to give you a purely analytical, impartial look at the physical and geopolitical chain reactions happening right now. We want to show you exactly what happens to nuclear materials, to internal political power, and to global treaties when the fog of war descends. Okay, let's unpack this.
So to really understand the global implications, we first have to establish the physical reality on the ground.
Right, the actual strikes.
Exactly. The intelligence brief details a series of unprecedented military strikes on sensitive nuclear sites that have been escalating rapidly since hostilities began on February 28.
And looking at this intelligence map we have here, the scale of the bombardment is it's staggering. They aren't just hitting one isolated bunker out in the desert, are they?
Not at all. According to a detailed analysis by the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, at least 5 distinct Iranian nuclear facilities have been attacked in this specific window.
5. Wow.
Yeah. We're talking about the covert weapons development site at Minzadahai, the entrances to the highly fortified Natanz enrichment facility, critical structures at the Isfahan nuclear complex, the Lavizan 2 Majdal laboratory, and perhaps most alarmingly, the area directly around the Bushehr nuclear power plant.
Which brings us back to that 350-meter strike we mentioned.
Right.
I think a lot of people hear that the reactor core itself wasn't hit, and they kind of breathe a sigh of relief. But destroying a building that close to a functioning reactor still carries massive risks, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a nuclear power plant is an incredibly complex, interconnected system.
It's not just a concrete dome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even if a bunker buster bomb misses the reinforced concrete dome of the reactor, the concussive force alone and the shrapnel can sever external power lines. It can destroy backup diesel generators.
Jeez.
Or rupture the massive water pumps that are absolutely required to keep the core cool. And if you lose those cooling systems, the reactor core can melt down on its own, regardless of whether it took a direct hit.
Which explains why Russia's Rosatom, the state nuclear corporation that actually helped build the Bushehr site, has already begun evacuating its personnel.
Yes.
And that's despite Iran reporting no reactor damage or injuries. When the people who literally built the plant start running for the exits, that tells you everything you need to know about the actual threat level.
It really does. It prompted Rafael Grossi, he's the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, to issue this desperate plea for maximum restraint.
But that plea has essentially been ignored, right?
Completely ignored. We saw this clearly on March 24th when U.S. and Israeli forces deployed specialized bunker buster bombs on the Natanz enrichment facility.
And the retaliation for that was incredibly swift.
It was.
Mere hours later, Iran launched a barrage of ballistic missiles directly at southern Israel, specifically targeting the cities of Dimona and Arad.
Right.
And for anyone who doesn't track Middle Eastern nuclear geography, those are the urban areas situated right next to the Shimon Peres Nuclear Research Center in the Negev Desert.
Which is a highly sensitive area.
Exactly. That specific facility is widely believed to house Israel's own undeclared nuclear weapons arsenal.
And what makes that March 21 retaliation so significant isn't just the target itself. It's the execution.
How so?
For the very first time, Iranian projectiles actually penetrated Israel's multi-layered air defenses near that facility.
Wow.
The strikes injured at least 180 people. Now, the IAEA reported that they detected no damage to the research center itself and no abnormal levels of radiation.
Yeah.
But
the strategic threshold that was crossed is profound. It's just terrifying. To me, the whole situation is it's like two people swinging sledgehammers at flies in a room full of glass.
that's a great way to put it.
Because even if their aim is absolutely perfect, the collateral risk is astronomical. You simply cannot guarantee that a stray piece of shrapnel won't hit a cooling pipe and trigger a radiological catastrophe.
What's fascinating here is that the geopolitical safeguard has officially transitioned from policy to pure luck.
And geopolitics cannot rely on luck.
No, it can't. The strikes are fundamentally altering the landscape, but not necessarily in the way the attackers intended.
Because destroying a roof doesn't vaporize the metal inside.
Exactly.
Once the alarms ring and the dust settles, the immediate physical danger actually gives way to an even bigger, more insidious problem. The fog of war has created a massive blind spot.
Right.
The danger is shifting from what we can see blowing up to what we suddenly can't see anymore.
You're referring to the fate of Iran's highly enriched uranium.
Exactly. Let's look at the numbers from the KULT brief. Before these attacks began, specifically back in June 2025, the IAEA estimated that Iran possessed roughly 441 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60%.
Which is a massive amount.
According to Director General Grossi, that specific volume at that purity level is enough to create up to 10 nuclear weapons.
And you have to remember, 441 kilograms of uranium does not take up a huge amount of physical space.
Really? How big is it?
Well, uranium is an incredibly dense heavy metal. You could fit that entire stockpile into a relatively small commercial van.
Wow.
It is incredibly easy to move, to hide, and to obscure in a subterranean network.
Wait, but hiding something that highly radioactive can't be as simple as just putting it in a basement. How are they obscuring it?
They are obscuring it by legally blinding the watchdogs. Iran has blocked all IAEA inspections since last year. They have completely stripped the agency of its ability to verify anything on the ground.
So we have no idea what's happening.
The international community has absolutely no idea if this uranium was destroyed in the bombings, if it was quietly relocated to a secure bunker deep within a mountain, or worst case, if it is currently being prepped for weaponization.
Here's when it gets really interesting, though. The brief cites a report from the New York Times stating that U.S. intelligence agencies estimate the stockpile could potentially be recovered from beneath the Isfahan facility.
Right.
And they claim they are maintaining, quote, continuous surveillance of the site. So, with the technology we have today, isn't satellite surveillance a viable substitute for guys with clipboards walking around on the ground? Are we really entirely blind?
That is a very common misconception, but the short answer is no. Satellite surveillance is absolutely not a substitute for ground inspections.
Why not?
Because looking at a facility from space tells you if trucks are moving in and out, or if a roof has been caved in by a bunker buster. It does not tell you what the centrifuges are doing deep underground.
So it's like driving down a steep mountain road at night, and suddenly your headlights cut out. You know the cliff is there, you know your momentum is carrying you forward, but you have zero data on when to actually turn the wheel.
That is a perfect analogy, because what the IAEA inspectors actually do cannot be replicated from space.
What are they actually doing down there?
They take environmental swipe samples to detect microscopic traces of radioactive isotopes. They install tamper-indicating seals on the centrifuge cascades. They monitor the continuous feed of uranium hexafluoride gas.
And a satellite just can't see that.
Satellites cannot see a broken seal on a pipe 300 feet underground. And this matters immensely because of the physics of uranium enrichment.
So break that down for us. Why is the distinction between 60% and 90% so critical here?
Well, most people hear 60% and 90% and intuitively think, okay, they're only 2/3 of the way there. They have a long way to go.
Right, like it's a linear scale.
Exactly. But uranium enrichment is highly nonlinear. The vast majority of the work, the time, the energy, the massive centrifuge arrays is required just to get the raw uranium gas up to 4 or 5% for civilian power.
Wait, really? Just the first few percent?
Yeah. By the time you hit 60%, 99% of the technical hurdles are entirely behind you.
Meaning the jump from 60 to 90% isn't a matter of years.
It's a matter of weeks, perhaps even days. Turning that 60% stockpile into 90% weapons-grade material is the easiest part of the entire process.
Wow.
That is why the blind spot is so terrifying.
Which aligns perfectly with the stark warning highlighted in the brief from Edwin Lyman, a nuclear expert with the Union of Concerned Scientists.
Right.
He points out that without access for inspectors, quote, Iran could retrieve and reprocess nuclear material, potentially leaving the international community without a window to intervene.
That window to intervene is everything. Ground inspectors provide the crucial lead time needed for diplomacy or targeted intervention.
And without them.
Without them, you are flying blind until the weapon is already assembled.
That is deeply unsettling. We have military strikes breaking the physical safety taboos and a complete loss of visibility on the actual nuclear material itself.
Yes.
But what is driving the decision-making inside Iran while the headlights are off? Because we've established that the material is unmonitored. But what is their actual intent?
That's the key question.
Our source material shows that these external attacks, which were intended to degrade the nuclear program, are actually triggering a profound internal political shift.
Yes. The physical attacks are essentially forging the intent to weaponize. And the primary catalyst for this internal shift was the recent assassination of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei.
We all know the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, holds immense military power in the region. But the intelligence brief highlights something entirely new.
It does.
With Khamenei gone, an enormous power vacuum has opened at the very top of the Iranian government. How does that fundamentally change the nuclear calculus?
Well, traditionally, the supreme leader functioned as a balancer. He maintained a delicate friction between the civilian government apparatus, the religious clerics, and the military hardliners of the IRGC.
Keeping everyone in check.
Exactly. With his assassination, that friction has been removed. The IRGC isn't just a military arm anymore. They are actively absorbing the state's diplomatic and civilian veto powers.
Oh.
They are effectively becoming the sole, unchecked decision-makers on the nuclear threshold.
And their strategy is wildly different. According to reports from Reuters and the Times of Israel on March 26, emboldened Iranian hardliners are now pressuring Tehran both publicly and privately to take the ultimate step.
Which is a huge shift.
Yeah, they want to officially withdraw from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, the NPT, and to officially develop a nuclear weapon.
The shift from strategic ambiguity to overt public demand is a massive escalation.
It's completely out in the open now. The brief notes that state television commentators are now openly urging the government to build or acquire one. We have high-level political figures publicly calling for Iran to suspend its NPT membership entirely.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is a textbook example of the paradoxical results of military intervention.
How so?
Historically, military strikes aimed at degrading a capability often end up accelerating the political will to acquire that exact capability.
So what does this all mean? It's like a pressure cooker situation.
Yes, exactly.
The external military pressure today, the bunker busters, the continuous threat of strikes, isn't just destroying buildings. It's practically forging a new, more radical political consensus inside the country.
Right.
It's validating the hardliners' argument that the only way to secure the nation from constant bombardment is to possess the ultimate deterrent.
Precisely. By destroying the civilian infrastructure and threatening the state's very survival, the external campaigns have inadvertently removed the internal political barriers that were previously keeping the nuclear program in check.
If that internal push succeeds and they actually build the weapon in the dark, the consequences will not stay within their borders.
No, they won't.
We have to look at how this regional conflict threatens to rewrite global security entirely.
You're talking about the regional domino effect.
Right. And the intelligence brief provides a chilling quote from Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He has explicitly warned on the record, if Iran gets one, we have to get one.
It is a direct transactional statement of intent.
Yeah. Saudi Arabia has the wealth and the infrastructure. If the mandate changes, they will move incredibly fast.
And Saudi Arabia wouldn't be the only one. Intelligence analysts are warning that other major regional powers, specifically Turkey, Egypt, and the United Arab Emirates, are watching this exact sequence of events very, very closely.
If you're ever wondering why a regional conflict on the other side of the world matters to your everyday life, this is it.
Absolutely.
We are potentially watching the complete collapse of global nuclear rules in real time. If Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Egypt all rush for a nuclear bomb, we aren't just talking about abstract lines on a map changing, we're talking about global shipping lanes shutting down.
Yeah.
We're talking about the absolute destabilization of the global energy market. And most importantly, we're looking at the very real possibility that the threshold for a nuclear exchange drops to a terrifying new low. That impacts your economy, your security, and your future.
The brief concludes with a piece of analysis that really crystallizes the overarching danger.
What does it say?
It states, quote, two military campaigns that downgraded monitoring without eliminating Iran's nuclear program send an unequivocal signal to all governments in the region that the non-proliferation regime cannot contain a sufficiently determined state.
An unequivocal signal. Wow.
This raises an important question. What happens when the global non-proliferation regime loses its teeth? For decades, the NPT has been as much a psychological treaty as a legal one.
Meaning it relies on trust.
Yes, it relied on the shared trust that the international community could detect and prevent a nation from crossing the nuclear threshold.
But if military force blinds the international monitors, yet fails to actually eliminate the nuclear material itself, it completely breaks that trust.
Exactly. It proves to every other nation watching that the rules can be beaten. It sets a terrifying precedent that a determined state can weather the military storm, blind the international watchdogs, and emerge on the other side as a fully fledged nuclear power.
It is a stunning unraveling of the rules-based order we've relied on for over half a century.
It really is.
Well, we have covered a tremendous amount of ground today. We started by looking at the razor-thin margins of error in the physical conflict, bunker-buster bombs hitting Natanz, ballistic missiles penetrating layered air defenses near Dimona, and strikes landing a mere 350 meters from the Bushehr reactor's cooling systems.
And we then explored the critical blind spot created by the fog of war. By explaining the nonlinear physics of enrichment, we saw why the IAEA losing visibility on 441 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium is so dangerous.
Right.
It leaves the international community without the crucial window to intervene.
We looked at the internal political shifts, too. We examined how the assassination of Supreme Leader Khamenei removed the friction between the civilian government and the military.
Allowing the IRGC to consolidate power.
Exactly, allowing them to publicly push for withdrawal from the Non-Proliferation Treaty. And finally, we mapped out the regional domino effect, how this perfectly illustrates the paradox of intervention, potentially triggering a rapid nuclear arms race involving Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Egypt, and the UAE.
As we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought to consider, something we haven't touched on yet, but which is the logical next step in this escalation.
What's that?
Consider the ultimate historical irony we might be witnessing today. Could the very military campaigns designed to prevent a nation from acquiring a nuclear weapon become the exact blueprint that proves to the rest of the world that international treaties are obsolete?
Wow. That is a chilling thought to leave on. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on this intense but absolutely essential deep dive into the forces shaping our world today. And just to remind you, everything we've discussed is an impartial report of the intelligence assessments. We are just mapping out the mechanics of this escalation. We know your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending it with us as we unpack these complex global shifts. Keep your eyes open, keep asking questions, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.